Hello there, guys. Welcome to the Raw Reflections podcast. My name is Ariele Keller. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to share with you my top 5 tips for going about holiday eating, or when it's coming to just get-togethers in general. You can use these rules. I struggled a lot as a kid because we did a lot of potlucks. I was homeschooled, a part of, we did youth group stuff, so potlucks all the time. And I struggled so much with potlucks, and I would get sick almost every single time we went to a potluck. And it was so draining for me as a child growing up. And it was something I didn't understand what was going on with my body until later on in life, which that was at the point where I realized I was gluten intolerant, and I had issues with a lot of dairy. I could do some dairy now, but I had a lot of dairy, and it was something my body was rejecting, and I didn't know how to read the signs. So that's what I work with women to do now in order to figure out what your body is telling you, how to adjust to those things in order to increase your wellness overall, like not just on the outside, but inside all the way out. And at that point, when I discovered what was going on with my diet and how, after I transitioned that is when I started to lose weight for the first time ever, because I just, from my childhood, I just continued to gain weight because of inflammation. So it brought a lot of freedom to me, and I love helping women discover that freedom for themselves also. And so if you are interested in learning more either about that or about my personal training, group classes virtually, go to my website. It's themirrorimpact.com/memberships, or you can click, I'm putting it up above, and I'll also put a link down below. Please subscribe to my channel, and also check out the social media pages for encouragement throughout the week, motivation, some just key things to focus on here and there, and just help you in your journey. All right. So I'm getting right into this today. Here is a couple of things that I have found work for me, have worked for my clients, and are actually a whole lot easier to embody and practice than you might think. Okay, first of all, I want to be clear that I'm not, none of my nutrition training has anything to do with, I wouldn't say anything to do. It's not focused on restriction. We want to focus more on restoration rather than restriction. So that is why we call it controlled eating patterns instead of intermittent fasting, because it's not always fasting. Sometimes we are just focused on listening to our body and intuitively eating. And there are a lot of different practices that can go into that depending on what your struggle is, what your triggers are for eating food. If it's specific cravings, if it's emotional eating, it just depends on what obstacle you're trying to get through that would have to do with the solution we would apply there. But here are a couple of general ideas that you can apply. Yes, we're gonna jump right in. Okay, starting off, number 1, get your water in. That day of, if you have let's say you have a big meal at the end of the day, if it's Thanksgiving, if it's Christmas, if it's a Taco Tuesday with your friends, whatever it might be, if you're just like, okay, I want to have one day where I, eat a little bit more carbs, okay? It doesn't have to be, I wouldn't recommend it once a week necessarily, but in moderation, allowing yourself that, I'm going to have a few more of these healthy carbs. And I still personally don't eat gluten because I know that's going to harm my body, and I'll get into that on number 3. But starting off the day, I want you to drink as much water as you can. Hydrate, because sometimes we will want to eat or munchy when we're not actually hungry. We're just thirsty. So if you're getting your water in, then you can completely eliminate that as a reason why you might be craving, okay? And also, a key point here, if you are planning on drinking alcohol in the evening or with dinner, or even if it's just a couple glasses of wine, please make sure that you like hydrate extra. So maybe drink 1.5 gallons of water instead of just a gallon for that day, because you know you're planning ahead. And then try and drink water as you drink alcohol as well. So grab a drink, grab a water. I literally will carry a water bottle into the bar with me sometimes. And I became known for it when I was in Troy, because they'd be like, oh, that's Arielle's water bottle. Like, she's the only one who carries a water bottle in here. But number 2 is going to be saving the carb intake until later in the day. So the way that intermittent fasting or controlled eating patterns tends to work is that our body's first source of energy is glucose. Typically, that's the way that it's normally trained. It can be trained to use fat as a fuel source after the glucose is completely gone. But a lot of times we have so many carbs in our diet that we don't even get to those fat stores, right? And that's why the keto diet, or a healthy keto style of eating, is beneficial, because there's less of that glucose as a regular fuel source. So our bodies have to use the fat stores, right? So if you save your carbs until later in the day, then your body's going to burn those off as you rest, as you go about you're sleeping, you're resting, you're going about your morning routine kind of thing. You'll be able to burn off most of the carbs that your body's using as glucose, and then be able to tap into those fat stores from your body. Does that make sense? I hope it does. But one thing I do want to say on that is, I'm not telling you to eat a whole bunch of carbs right before you go to sleep, because what that is going to do is it's going to affect your ability to rest, because your body's going to be processing instead of sleeping. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind. Number 3 is continuing to be conscious about eating in service to your body. So this means considering food sensitivities and allergies, and actually thinking about the foods that you're putting in your body. What are you eating? Are you eating carbs, fats, proteins? Being aware of that. I'm not telling you to count calories and measure your food and, all of that. I'm just asking you to be aware of what you're putting in your body, and asking yourself, is this benefiting me or is this harming me? Okay. And for me, that means gluten. So I can't have gluten because it does, or at least a lot of gluten. I can have a couple of bites of something. I'm not like celiac where it's going to destroy me, but I am definitely in a fetal position if I eat a whole piece of non-gluten-free cake. It's a terrible day for me. So I need to keep that in mind, and knowing that I want to, maybe play games with my family later in the evening, or maybe have a glass of wine later. And I'm not going to want a glass of wine if I'm in the fetal position and my body isn't digesting anyways, because it's inflamed, and the alcohol is only going to make it worse. By the way, if you have food sensitivities, alcohol is going to make it worse. So I would not combine your food sensitivity food and alcohol. It's not a good idea. And that's also just being aware of what you're putting in your body and how it's going to affect you, okay? And how it's going to affect you not just then, but also 3 hours from now, 12 hours from now, in the next 3 days, okay? And eating with that intention of serving your body, drinking with the intention of serving your body, okay? Next up, is number 4, fill up on greens and proteins, okay? Like a little jangle, okay? I like to, I actually set it myself a 2-plate rule, okay? I know that sounds strange, but hear me out, okay? First plate, half of it is salad or greens of some sort that are preferably raw, okay? I know not everybody has salad at their family get-togethers, but keep in mind, you can bring salad. It's one of the cheapest side dishes that you can make. And I actually have a recipe for a delicious salad that is actually keto friendly. I can link in the description box. It is fabulous to add to that holiday table. It's like a cranberry pecan apple salad with this vinaigrette, but fabulous, so good. So I will link that in the description box. But bring salad, fill up half of your plate with salad, and then look at what's on the spread. And I want you to take a couple, maybe 2 or 3 bite size section of all the foods that you want to try. Okay. And this is like your teaser. This is like your taster, or when you get a flight of beer or a flight of wine and you're like, okay, I'm going to try this. And then you're like, you know what? I liked these the best, or I liked this one the best. So I'm going to get a full glass of this wine or this beer. So it's kind of that same concept. You're trying out those foods. And then when you finish that plate, wait a couple of minutes and tune in, see how hungry you are. Okay. Next, be like, all right, what were my favorite dishes? And then go back and get another small serving. It can be a little bit larger this time, depending on what it is. And please keep in mind, greens, I'm not talking green bean casserole. Okay, that does not count as greens because there's so much other stuff in it. It even defeats the purpose of being greens. I'm talking salad that isn't full of crap dressing and preservatives. This vinaigrette that is on the salad recipe is a great option because it isn't full of a bunch of nasty stuff. It's not your store-bought 32 ingredient dressing. Okay, you can probably find a whole lot of other dressings. Just read the back of the label and see what's in them, and know what you're putting in your body, right? Especially if you have the power to bring the salad. Bring the salad. I always bring the salad. No matter where I go, even if there's more salad, people will eat the salad if the salad is there. It's really quite wild. No, all right. So next up, I already went over the tasting everything, and then you go back and get your second helping. And please keep in mind with this that you are not obligated to clean your plate. And I know some families are a little bit more, it's difficult for this because I know I'll go to my in-laws, my grandparent in-laws house, and they'll offer candy like 4 or 5 times while we're there. And I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank you. I'm okay. And it gets harder and harder and harder to say no to candy when it's offered you 5 times, right? So same concept with your family. And they're like, oh, there are starving children in Africa. You need to clean your plate. You can wrap your plate up and save it for later or take it home. Okay, that's also an option. Tupperware, okay? Next up, we're going to go into our final lovely point, number 5. Enjoy every bite. Eat until satisfied, not stuffed. Satisfied, not stuffed. Okay, you are not the turkey. You do not need to be stuffed. Keep that in mind. Enjoy the food that you're eating. Most of the time, these are dishes that we get maybe once or twice a year. So savor them. Enjoy the flavors. And if there's a dish that you're like, I don't know if I really want to finish this on my plate, but I'm only eating it because I feel obligated to, then don't eat it. Try and think about why it is that you are finishing this. Is it because you're hungry? Is it because it's so good and you just can't stop? Then, I understand that. It is one day, Thanksgiving. Maybe don't bring that dish home with you and munch on it in the middle of the night. But trying to eat to serve, eat to satisfy the body rather than just shove food in it, and that sense of lack, or oh no, there's not going to be enough food, or oh no, I have to finish my plate because there are starving children in Africa. Get smaller portions. You can always get more. That's a great way to solve that problem. So you don't have to feel bad about that. You can always go back and get more. And if that's a concern, then you can put maybe a section of that dish on a plate and put it in the fridge, or hide it away from people so that you can always go back, or you can bring it home. So there are all kinds of options, but I think we get stuck into this mentality of, oh, I have to finish my plate, I have to overindulge, I have to stuff myself. It's Thanksgiving. I have to wear pants and unbutton them. And if I don't have to unbutton my pants by the time I didn't eat well enough. Okay, I understand that those are common considerations and thoughts, but that doesn't mean that you have to stuff yourself. If you know you don't feel good when you stuff yourself, then that's not serving your body, right? So it all goes back to that number 3, and eating in service to your body. Satisfying the hunger, and then you can always come back later. I don't know about you guys, but my family always brought out the ham sandwiches 3 hours after dinner. After we had Christmas dinner, they'd bring out the ham sandwiches and everybody would be eating those. And I don't know why everybody, wanted more food. Most of the time it was just because the food was there. So ask yourself, why am I eating more? Do I need it? Do I want it? Or do I just feel obligated to eat it because it's there, right? So keep those things in mind. Number one, water, getting your carbs in later in the day, continuing to be conscious and eating in service to your body, filling up on greens and proteins, get those fats and proteins in, and then you're going to be less prone to crave the carbs because you're getting what you need, you're getting the calories that you need, and it'll fill you up faster. So you won't have a lot of room for those extra carbs. Maybe wait to grab the roll until your second plate, or wait to grab those extra things that you may not have grabbed before. Maybe get a half a piece of pie, or maybe try a half a piece of each pie, or a couple bites of each pie, or maybe recruit a family member and be like, hey, I don't want a whole piece of pie. I'm trying to watch my figure. I'm trying to watch the amount of sugar I'm eating. Would you mind sharing? We can split a piece of pie. And they'll be like, oh, sure. Do you want whipped cream? Okay. I'm sure there are family members who are also wanting to move forward at their own personal progress. So maybe you could be the impact in that way and start that little seed of, oh, well, if she can do it, maybe I can do it too. Maybe we can do it together. All right. Maybe this will bring you some connection, some community in your family through fitness and wellness. Who knows, right? Next, and the last one is enjoying every bite, enjoying the time with your family, focusing on that. I know sometimes, some family dynamics may not be the best, and sometimes, the food can be an escape. But I really want you to focus on trying to enjoy every moment that you can, focusing on gratitude this year, especially as this year has been pretty hard, and just focusing on that positivity and that gratitude. All right, so that is it for today. Thank you again for joining me and allowing me to be part of your path today. Again, check out my website if you're interested in working with me or learning more about my memberships, possibly even to share with a family member or a friend. I hope you guys have an amazing holiday season. Again, focus on that gratitude and that love and connection that we have the opportunity to share with the family members that are still in our life, thankfully, even through this pandemic. Be blessed, guys. I will see you next time.